Okay, now I'm running the Sapella with this camera in the trigger mode. Okay, to run in trigger mode, I can use a sensor to trigger the frame grabber, and then the frame grabber will trigger the camera. Or the other way, without the sensor, I just set the camera, the frame grabber to trigger the camera directly. In order to do so, I have to select the camera file. This camera file is pertaining to the trigger mode. Of course, I have to set the camera to trigger mode by using a COM port command. Okay, and now I disable the external sensor to trigger the frame grabber. I just use the internal frame grabber trigger to trigger the camera. Okay, there are three methods of triggering the camera. One is the time integration method, second is a camera reset method, and the third one is a camera trigger method. Okay, I can only use one method at a time. So now let's say I disable this method, and I just use a time integration method to trigger the camera. Okay, and I'm selecting the method 1. In this case, I need to generate a pulse that is say 40 millisecond. Okay, this internal trigger will cause the frame grabber to generate a pulse, okay, with this delay and this pulse width of 40 millisecond. Notice for different camera you have to select either low to high or high to low. For my camera is low to is active high. Okay, so once you select the method, this one will select automatically become the time integration. If I need the stroke to send out from the frame grabber card, I need to set the stroke as well. Say 1 millisecond, and I want the pulse to be like that. When there's an internal trigger, there's a pulse of 1 millisecond come out from the pin number 11 of the I/O card. Okay, so right now I can grab. There's a warning message. Oh, sorry. I must set this pulse to 0. CC1 to pulse number 0. You can see the video, video on the screen. Okay. So to prove that this is running in the integration method, I can come here to change the integration time. Let's say now is 40 millisecond. I increase to 80 millisecond. The picture was supposed to be brighter. Okay. And when you set to a higher integration, you have to observe that the frame rate may drop down. Okay. So right now the maximum frame rate I set is 30 frame. So if I set to a very small number here, say 5,000, I will have a very dark picture here, but the frame rate maximum is 30 frame. It's based on this number. So if you use a scope to measure, there will be a stroke signal on the pin 11. Okay, so this proves the camera is running. Let me set it back to say 40,000. Okay, when I set to 40,000, I can see the picture, but the frame rate will drop down in order to maintain 40,000 integration time. Okay, so let me freeze this, and then I disable this. And now I'm trying to use external sensor trigger. I don't have a sensor, I have a pulse generator. So I will generate a pulse that is about 30 pulse per second. Okay, and I have to enable this one. I will set Actify, and my trigger is a TTL. Okay. When you click, you'll have the warning here. Sorry, active low. For this signal have to be active low. Okay, so that means right now is a trigger based on the this external trigger pulse, and then whether I can receive 30 frames per second. It all depends on the setting over here. Say now I set to 5000. Okay, right now I can see up to 40 frames. Okay, to prove the external trigger is running and also the stroke output is running, I'm connecting the connector to oscilloscope here. Okay, this is the trigger input from a pulse gen. This is the stroke output. Okay, this is the stroke output. This is my pulse gen that is about 30 frames per second. Okay, stop.